August 14th, 1940. 11 RAF pilots of 610 Squadron scramble their Spitfires toward an incoming Luftwaffe formation. German intelligence expects the familiar 330 miles per hour ceiling and 9-minute climb to combat altitude. But in the sweltering summer air, British fighters surge upward at a rate that leaves German commanders stunned. Within hours, Luftwaffe aces report British aircraft reaching them with unprecedented speed and aggression. Squadron logs reveal the truth. In just 48 hours, a simple fuel change had transformed the balance of power in the skies over Britain. A seemingly small modification switching to American 100-octane fuel gave Spitfire pilots 20% more power when they needed it most. 2 weeks later, a captured German intelligence document would read, "Enemy aircraft exhibit unexplained performance increase. Previously reliable tactics no longer effective." The Battle of Britain had been rewritten by a formula brewed in laboratories 3,000 miles away. Radar operators at Hawking Sector Station trace 38 German aircraft crossing at 22,000 feet. The morning air carries the distant rumble of Rolls-Royce Merlin engines as squadron leader Michael Kilburn leads his pilots toward the incoming raid. Within 14 minutes, the engagement ends. 3 Spitfires damaged, 4 Heinkel-Heesent-Olms bombers driven off course, 2 shot down. The station commander's report reads, "Aircraft performing beyond expected parameters. Engine boost settings previously restricted, now fully operational." Technical officers confirm the Spitfire's Merlin 3 engines, now running on 100-octane fuel, could sustain emergency boost power for twice as long without damage. Across the channel, Hauptmann Werner Mulders studies reconnaissance photographs showing new fuel storage facilities at British airfields. From 1939 to early 1940, the technical balance had favoured German fighters. Their fuel-injected DB601 engines allowed negative G manoeuvres without engine cutout, a decisive advantage in combat disengagement. Yet, by late summer 1940, RAF pilots were reporting they could now catch German fighters in climbing spirals, where before they had been outmatched. It was a contest of chemistry, engineering adaptation, and strategic foresight. Each side believed its machines could dominate the sky. Only one would prove adaptable enough to survive. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Ground Crew Chief Robert Blackwood signs the maintenance log for Spitfire N3249 at Tangmere Airfield. Dawn light glints off the aircraft's polished spinner as armourers load ammunition belts into its Browning machine guns. Inside the operations room, intelligence officer Sarah Holloway pins a new fuel consumption chart to the briefing board. The 100-octane aviation spirit, as the British called it, represented a fundamental shift in performance potential. Gone were the conservative boost limitations of the earlier 87-octane fuel. In their place, a new set of engine operating parameters, allowing plus 12 pounds of boost in emergency situations. Test climbs over Kent showed climb rates exceeding 3,600 feet per minute, a 20% improvement over previous figures. RAF pilots quickly noticed the difference. The aircraft responded more eagerly to throttle inputs, accelerated with greater urgency, and maintained energy through sustained climbs. German tactical reports had expected the familiar Spitfire performance envelope. Early combat assessments described British fighters suddenly appearing above formations that should have been safely out of reach. Air Vice Marshal Keith Park, commanding 11 Group, noted in correspondence with the Air Ministry, "The enhanced performance has altered the tactical picture considerably. Enemy bombers now face unexpected interception at altitudes previously considered secure." The numbers told the story. Spitfire fighters previously required 11 minutes to reach 25,000 feet. With 100-octane fuel and revised boost control settings, they achieved the same altitude in just 9 minutes. A senior engineering officer's evaluation from mid-August observed, "Enemy adopts high cover escorts. Our aircraft can now match them in climb. The performance improvement in vertical maneuvers has equalized what was previously a disadvantage." The enhancement had not come from a new airframe or major redesign, but from American chemical engineering. Standard Oil's Bayway refinery in New Jersey had perfected the production of 100-octane aviation fuel in quantities sufficient for wartime consumption. Shipped across the Atlantic in unmarked tankers, the precious liquid arrived at Liverpool docks under the innocuous designation Grade X. German intelligence had tracked aircraft deliveries and pilot training programs with meticulous detail, but had missed this invisible force multiplier entirely. Engineers on both sides calibrated engines and recorded performance data. At Farnborough, technicians measured a Merlin 3's output curves while plotting fuel consumption rates across the revised boost settings. At Rechlin, German test staff photographed combat-damaged Spitfire engine components, searching for clues to their enhanced performance. Both air forces had anticipated incremental improvements through airframe refinement. The fuel change revealed decisive performance effects instead. British trials documented the Spitfire achieving 354 miles per hour at 17,500 feet on 87-octane fuel. The same aircraft reached 371 miles per hour at the same altitude with 100 octane. The 17 miles per hour difference seemed modest on paper, but translated to life or death margins in combat. More critical was the power sustainability. German combat reports noted, British fighters previously disengaged after short bursts of speed now maintain pursuit with unexpected endurance. The performance envelope had been redrawn without a single rivet being changed. Test pilot Alan Deere noted in his flight log, aircraft maintains climb with full throttle, where previously engine temperature limits forced power reduction. Across the channel, Luftwaffe pilot Adolf Galland observed the change in his combat diary. British fighters reaching our altitude faster than expected. Previous tactics no longer ensure separation. The vertical plane, long a German tactical advantage, was becoming contested territory. Luftwaffe pilots previously escaped combat through superior climb rates when engagements turned unfavorable. RAF pursuers had accepted these disengagements as technical reality. By August 12, 601 Squadron's combat report stated, maintained pursuit of Me 109 seconds in climbing turns. Engines performed beyond previous limits. The chemical advantage was reshaping tactical doctrine without requiring pilot retraining or aircraft modification. Engine testing revealed another dimension to the fuel improvement. The 100-octane fuel allowed the Merlin to operate at higher internal temperatures without detonation, the destructive premature explosion of fuel in the cylinders. This meant British pilots could maintain emergency power settings for longer periods without risking engine damage. German reconnaissance noted increased Spitfire presence at high altitude, but misattributed it to reinforcement rather than performance enhancement. A Rolls-Royce test bench at Derby recorded a Merlin 3 sustaining 1,310 horsepower with the new fuel 130 horsepower above its rated maximum with 87 octane. This power increase directly translated into vertical performance. The 20% boost came without corresponding weight increase, improving the aircraft's power-to-weight ratio proportionally. Every Spitfire in fighter command received this enhancement simultaneously through nothing more complex than changing the fuel supply and adjusting boost control settings. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The horizontal turning circle remained a British advantage. The vertical dimension had become contested territory. At Castle Bromwich Aircraft Factory, production metrics remained unchanged, while combat effectiveness increased dramatically. Across the North Sea, a Luftwaffe intelligence officer filed a report questioning why British fighters seemed more capable, despite no observed changes to airframe or visible equipment. Britain's technological edge had been amplified through chemical engineering. Castle Bromwich and Supermarine's Southampton facility maintained production of externally identical Spitfires that carried an invisible advantage in their fuel tanks. No retooling or production delays were required to implement the enhancement. Every fighter rolling off assembly lines immediately incorporated the performance boost without a single design change. Germany, operating under increasingly restricted petroleum access, had developed synthetic fuel programs that prioritized quantity over performance. Their refineries strained to meet basic consumption requirements, making octane improvement research a luxury they could ill afford. Cost comparisons revealed the strategic imbalance. British Treasury records show approximately £75,000 investment in fuel handling modifications across all Fighter Command airfields, a fraction of a single day's aircraft production cost. Fighter Command weekly readiness reports documented performance enhancements without corresponding maintenance penalties. Air staff planning papers tracked the new capabilities across operational groups, yet combat effectiveness required more than raw performance. Pilot tactical doctrine needed updating to exploit the new capabilities. Training Command modified its fighter pilot instruction to emphasize sustained climbing attacks rather than the brief power applications previously taught to preserve engines. Squadron leader Robert Stanford Tuck achieved a 4-to-1 victory ratio during August interceptions. Post-mission reports credited sustained pursuit capability and improved initial climb rates. RAF maintenance records showed no increase in engine failure rates despite the higher performance demands. By September 1940, both air forces recognized the same strategic truth. The invisible enhancement had shifted the balance without a single change to the aircraft themselves. Technical equilibrium had been temporarily restored through chemistry rather than design. German tactical doctrine, based on vertical maneuver superiority, required revision in the face of unexpected British performance. Production dominance meant little if qualitative advantages disappeared overnight. Performance led on paper, but adaptation would decide outcomes in the air. A Heinkel formation approaches the English coast as Spitfire escorts of 92 Squadron climb to 26,000 feet on call sign Vanguard High. Jagdgeschwader 26 patrols at 28,000 feet, engines throttled back to conserve fuel while maintaining altitude advantage. Operation Eagle aimed to force the RAF into sustained combat over southern England. Luftwaffe planners expected to maintain their traditional vertical superiority. The RAF expected to demonstrate their new capabilities. Official combat records document 357 air engagements between August 8 and September 7, 1940. Luftwaffe claims total 219 British aircraft destroyed. Fighter Command losses reached 268 Spitfires and Hurricanes across all causes: combat, accident, and operational failure. 11 groups post-action analysis concluded, enemy appears surprised by aircraft performance. Altitude advantage contested successfully. The 100-octane fuel allowed British formations to position themselves at previously unreachable altitudes, then choose engagement timing to their advantage. Technical factors explained the tactical shift. Rolls-Royce had been unable to increase the Merlin's rated power output without major redesign. The fuel change enabled a 20% performance boost without requiring a single drawing change or production delay. German pilots found themselves facing aircraft that could sustain emergency power settings for entire combat engagements. The Spitfire's elliptical wing design yielded tighter, steadier turns at all altitudes. With the climbing disadvantage reduced, this turning superiority became increasingly decisive. British pilots who forced combat into extended vertical engagements now found themselves able to maintain energy parity. Fuel limitations still prevented extended high-power settings over enemy territory, but defensive interceptions over England could use the performance advantage throughout the engagement envelope. JG-26 Commandeur Adolphe Galland noted in his tactical assessment, British fighters pursue into climbs previously secure, must maintain greater initial separation. German tactical doctrine had emphasized rapid vertical disengagement when combat situations became unfavorable. RAF intercept profiles now matched this climb capability throughout August. Higher sustained power settings maintained energy margins during extended engagements. German controllers found their formations increasingly contested at altitudes previously secure from interception. Combat film analysis revealed changing engagement patterns. German pilots initiated attacks from above, but found British fighters climbing to meet them before they could establish ideal attack positions. Subsequent disengagement attempts faced more persistent pursuit than previous encounters had shown. Dominance no longer correlated reliably with altitude advantage alone. Neither air force achieved decisive control over the combat zone, but the psychological advantage of surprise belonged to the British. Engineers examined valve components and cylinder heads, while maintenance officers drafted updated service bulletins. The air war had evolved from a contest of aircraft design to one of fuel chemistry and engine management. Designers on both sides had aimed for equivalent durability standards. Material specifications remained unchanged, but operating parameters had shifted dramatically. The Merlin engine, designed conservatively to operate on lower-grade fuels, discovered unexpected performance reserves when supplied with 100 octane. Manufacturing quality remained consistent while operating limits expanded. Service bulletins extended emergency power duration limits based on field experience with the enhanced fuel. Rolls-Royce test engineers documented the safety margins. No additional valve wear observed after 15 minutes at full emergency boost. German intelligence noted increased engine noise levels from intercepting Spitfires, but misattributed the change to possible supercharger modifications. The DB601A design remained optimized for high-altitude performance, but faced an unexpected challenger in previously dominated flight regimes. A Derby test card recorded, "Sustained boost at plus 12 pounds shows no detonation issues. Cylinder head temperatures remain within limits." Incremental improvements had been superseded by a step change in performance through chemistry rather than mechanics. British designers leveraged reliability alongside the performance enhancement. German engineers searched for mechanical explanations for the observed capability increase. Luftwaffe intelligence reports theorized supercharger modifications or weight reduction programs. The simple fuel change remained undetected as the primary factor throughout the critical summer months of 1940. Manufacturing statistics highlighted the strategic implications. Britain gained power improvement without corresponding production complications. Germany remained unaware of the true cause of their fading vertical superiority. Every additional 100 feet per minute in climb rate had required German engineers to redesign engine components, while British aircraft achieved greater improvements through fuel chemistry alone. Chalkboards in briefing rooms across England displayed evolving combat tactics. The RAF's traditional tight Vic formations gave way to looser, more flexible arrangements. Forward bases briefed extended climbing pursuit techniques and sustained power management methods. Luftwaffe tactical doctrine had evolved from Spanish Civil War experience, emphasizing the Schwarm 4-aircraft formation and vertical energy advantage. German pilots maintained loose formations that maximized situational awareness while preserving maneuverability for rapid climbing disengagements. RAF Fighter Command increasingly adopted formation concepts that leveraged their new performance capabilities. Wing Commander Adolf Seyler Milan conducted tactical trials at Biggin Hill throughout August 1940. His units experimented with aggressive counterclimbing techniques that exploited the sustained power advantage of their enhanced fuel. Results showed improved interception success rates and more effective pursuit phases. By late August, combat analysis credited a 15% improvement in successful engagement ratios following the combined technical and tactical adaptation. British squadrons adopted what became known as the performance pursuit doctrine, maintaining maximum sustainable boost settings throughout the entirety of climbing intercepts, rather than conserving engine power, as previous doctrine had dictated. The traditional number 2 eyes back principle expanded to include vertical scanning responsibilities. German pilot Franz von Vera noted in his captured diary, "British formations climb more aggressively. Engine noise remains constant during extended vertical maneuvers." Luftwaffe pilots found RAF formations increasingly capable of sustaining pursuit during attempted disengagements. Spitfires with 100 octane fuel maintained energy states that previously would have been impossible without engine damage. The psychological impact amplified the technical change. German pilots accustomed to certain disengagement distances found themselves pursued beyond expected limits. Training command incorporated the new performance parameters into combat tactics instruction. New pilots learned extended boost management alongside traditional RAF methods. Operational training units emphasized vertical pursuit techniques that would have been impossible with the previous fuel limitations. Formation techniques adapted to the new performance envelope. British pilots maintained tighter energy discipline, knowing their engines could now sustain emergency power settings without damage. The RAF had realized the full potential of their existing airframes through nothing more complex than a fuel change. Luftwaffe pilot Hans-Joachim Marseille reported after a Channel engagement, "British climb pursuit continues beyond expected endurance limits." Lord Beaverbrook, Minister of Aircraft Production, studied fuel allocation charts while Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding reviewed combat effectiveness reports. Neither man had authorized a single design change to the Spitfire, yet both had presided over a 20% performance increase across the entire fighter force. The strategic implications extended beyond tactical advantages. The entire British pilot training program had operated with artificially restrictive boost limits to preserve engine life. Now, with 100-octane fuel enabling higher sustained power settings without corresponding damage, training commands could authorize more aggressive maneuvering during advanced combat instruction. By late August, every operational squadron had recalibrated their performance expectations. Intelligence Officer Elizabeth Harrow compiled tactical bulletins emphasizing the new pursuit capabilities. Maintain maximum climb power during initial interception. Engine limitations previously restricting sustained boost have been eliminated with the current fuel supply. The psychological advantage of this, an invisible enhancement spread throughout fighter command. Pilots reported greater confidence in vertical engagements previously considered disadvantageous. Group Captain James Stapleford examined maintenance statistics from 11 groups' frontline squadrons. Engine overhaul rates showed no significant increase despite the more demanding performance envelope. The 100-octane fuel's higher octane rating prevented detonation at boost levels that would have destroyed engines running on lower-grade fuel. Maintenance chiefs revised inspection protocols to monitor valve seats and cylinder heads, but found no unusual wear patterns despite the enhanced operating parameters. The technical margins engineered into the Merlin had proven more generous than even Rolls-Royce had anticipated. Conservative British engineering practices had inadvertently created performance reserves, accessible only through fuel improvements. A senior engineer at Rolls-Royce noted in correspondence with the Air Ministry, "The Merlin appears capable of sustaining 12 pounds boost indefinitely with the current fuel. Previous limitations were imposed solely due to detonation concerns with lower-grade spirit." Luftwaffe intelligence officers compiled performance assessments based on combat reports and reconnaissance photographs. Their analysis correctly identified enhanced British climb performance, but misattributed the cause to possible supercharger modifications or weight reduction programs. A captured intelligence summary dated August 22 speculated, "Enemy may have introduced lightweight components or reduced ammunition loads to improve climb performance." The simple fuel change remained undetected throughout the critical phase of the Battle of Britain. The strategic advantage of the invisible enhancement extended beyond immediate tactical effects. While German intelligence searched for mechanical explanations, RAF planners incorporated the performance improvement into broader strategic calculations. Interception timing, patrol altitudes, and squadron deployment patterns all adjusted to leverage the enhanced capabilities. Fighter Command's defensive screen became more responsive, with intercepts occurring at greater distances from target areas. Air Chief Marshal Dowding noted in his strategic assessment, "The performance improvement has effectively expanded our defensive coverage without requiring additional squadrons. Interception success rates have improved by approximately 15% across all groups." This multiplication of effective force allowed Fighter Command to maintain continuous opposition despite numerical disadvantages during the critical summer months of 1940. Across the Channel, Luftwaffe planners observed declining bomber penetration success but struggled to identify the root cause. Reconnaissance flights reported no significant increase in British fighter strength, yet intercept rates had risen substantially. German operational analysis falsely concluded that improved radar coverage explained the enhanced British response capabilities. The reality that the same number of fighters now performed significantly better remained undiscovered. Technical margins had become strategic advantages. The performance enhancement multiplied the effectiveness of Britain's limited fighter force during the critical phase, when production barely matched combat losses. Without a single additional aircraft, Fighter Command had effectively increased its operational reach and persistence. Lord Beaverbrook's production ministry calculated the equivalent value. Achieving similar capability increase through aircraft production alone would have required 120 additional Spitfires, nearly 2 months of total production output. The 100-octane fuel represented more than a technical enhancement. It embodied the strategic relationship between Britain and the United States. American chemical engineering had provided a crucial force multiplier at the moment of Britain's greatest vulnerability. The fuel arrived through Lend-Lease arrangements that predated formal American entry into the war. This invisible alliance through industrial chemistry foreshadowed the material support that would eventually ensure Allied victory. Test pilot Geoffrey Quill pushed a Spitfire to its revised performance limits, while German intelligence officers examined combat camera footage, searching for visible modifications. British engineers had matched German design excellence through a chemical shortcut. The performance gap that had taken German engineers years of meticulous design work to establish had been substantially closed in weeks through a simple fuel change. The psychological impact extended beyond immediate tactical advantages. Squadron morale improved, as pilots discovered their aircraft could now match the previously superior German fighters in climbing engagements. Combat reports increasingly mentioned successful pursuits against Messerschmitt 109 seconds, attempting vertical disengagements. Flight Lieutenant David Crook noted in his combat log, maintained climb pursuit against 109 seconds attempting to disengage. Engines sustained full boost throughout the engagement. At Duxford Airfield, American volunteer pilots of the recently formed Eagle Squadron received tactical briefings incorporating the new performance parameters. Their training emphasized aggressive vertical pursuit techniques previously considered impractical. Squadron leader William Vale explained the tactical shift. Your aircraft will climb better than you've been told in training. The fuel we're using now allows sustained emergency boost without engine damage. Use this advantage to pursue climbing enemies who previously would have escaped. The Eagle Squadron pilots, many with experience in lower performance training aircraft in America, adapted quickly to the enhanced capabilities. Their combat reports from late August noted successful intercepts against high-altitude German formations that intelligence assessments had previously considered beyond effective engagement range. The American volunteers brought fresh tactical perspectives that fully exploited the new performance envelope. Engine management practices evolved alongside tactical doctrine. Previously, pilots had been instructed to use emergency boost settings for no more than 5 minutes per mission to prevent engine damage. With 100-octane fuel, this restriction disappeared from operational directives. Flight briefings now authorized sustained emergency power as tactically required, without corresponding maintenance penalties. This fundamental shift in engine management philosophy multiplied effective combat persistence. Luftwaffe reconnaissance flights over British airfields noted no visible changes to fighter operations. The enhanced performance came without external indications, no new equipment, no modified aircraft, no observable differences that might alert German intelligence to the cause of the shifting tactical balance. Hauptmann Werner Mölders, one of Germany's leading fighter aces, reported after an August 28 engagement. British pursuit continues beyond expected fuel consumption limits. Previous disengagement distances no longer reliable. The invisible enhancement had another strategic advantage. It applied universally across the entire fighter command without requiring modification programs or selective implementation. Every Spitfire and Hurricane in Britain's inventory received the performance boost simultaneously through nothing more complex than changing the fuel supply. No production delays, no maintenance complications, no pilot retraining beyond simple briefings on the revised engine operating parameters. This universal application created a genuine strategic surprise for the Luftwaffe. German intelligence expected incremental British improvements through gradual introduction of new aircraft variants or selective squadron upgrades. Instead, they faced an instantaneous performance enhancement across the entire opposing force. Their tactical doctrine, based on carefully measured performance differentials, suddenly required comprehensive revision. Group Captain Alan Deer studied Luftwaffe formation adjustments observed during recent engagements. German fighters increasingly operated at higher altitudes, attempting to preserve their vertical advantage despite the enhanced British climb capabilities. This tactical adaptation reduced bomber escort effectiveness, as German fighters maintained greater separation from their charges to ensure performance advantages. RAF intelligence noted increased fuel consumption among German fighters, as they operated at higher altitudes with lower power settings to maintain station. The tactical adjustment created its own vulnerability. German pilots now had reduced combat persistence due to the increased fuel burn required to operate at extreme altitudes. Deer's tactical assessment concluded, "Enemy now sacrifices escort effectiveness for altitude security. Their higher operating altitudes reduce combat endurance and increase fuel consumption during transit phases." The operational impact manifested in bomber penetration statistics. Luftwaffe bomber formations faced more frequent and effective interception as August progressed. Previously, German planners had calculated intercept probabilities based on known RAF response capabilities. The enhanced performance invalidated these calculations, resulting in higher than expected losses among bomber units. A Luftwaffe operations analysis from late August reported, "Fighter escort tactics require revision. Bomber penetration success rates declining despite unchanged patrol parameters." Air Vice Marshal Keith Park, commanding 11 Group, exploited this shifting balance through refined intercept control procedures. Sector controllers now vectored squadrons to higher initial engagement altitudes, confident in their aircraft's ability to reach effective interception positions. The tactical geometry of the air battle had been rewritten without a single design change to the aircraft themselves. Rolls-Royce engineers analyzed engine performance data from operational squadrons while developing further refinements to the Merlin. The unexpected performance reserves, revealed by 100-octane fuel, influenced design priorities for subsequent engine variants. Chief Engineer Ernest Hives noted in development meeting minutes, "The current fuel has revealed performance margins we did not fully anticipate. Future designs should incorporate these expanded operating parameters from the initial specification." The performance improvement came with minimal logistical complications. Fuel handling procedures required minor modifications to prevent contamination, and boost control settings needed adjustment on each aircraft. Beyond these simple changes, the enhancement required no special maintenance, no additional ground equipment, and no specialized training. The operational simplicity multiplied its strategic value during a period when RAF resources faced unprecedented strain. Wing Commander Douglas Bader, leading the Duxford Wing, incorporated the enhanced performance into his tactical planning. His formations now climbed directly to maximum effective interception altitude, rather than using the stepped climb profiles previously required to preserve engine life. Combat reports from his wing showed higher initial contact altitudes and more effective pursuit phases during engagement. Bader's after-action assessment noted, "Our aircraft now climb directly to optimum position. Previous limitations on sustained climb rates no longer apply." The enhanced performance particularly benefited less experienced pilots, who previously had struggled with complex engine management protocols designed to prevent damage during high-stress maneuvers. With the more forgiving 100-octane fuel, these pilots could focus on tactical situational awareness rather than constantly monitoring engine gauges for signs of impending damage. Squadron training officers noted improved combat effectiveness among recently deployed pilots who benefited from the simplified engine management requirements. Technical intelligence officers compiled performance comparisons based on combat camera footage and pilot reports. Their analysis documented the shifting performance balance between opposing fighters. A technical bulletin distributed to operational squadrons in late August stated, "Analysis confirms our aircraft now achieve climb rates within 5% of Mi-109 performance when using sustained emergency boost settings. Previous 20% differential has been substantially reduced through improved fuel performance. The psychological impact of this announcement spread throughout fighter command. Pilots who had accepted vertical inferiority as an unchangeable fact now approached combat with renewed tactical flexibility. Combat reports increasingly mentioned successful climbing intercepts against German formations previously considered beyond effective engagement altitude. A 92 Squadron summary from August 26 noted, intercepted enemy aircraft at 28,000 feet, maintained climbing pursuit through initial engagement. Previous altitude limitations no longer restricted tactical options. At Farnborough Test Establishment, captured German aircraft underwent comparative performance trials against Spitfires using the enhanced fuel. These direct measurements confirmed what combat experience had already demonstrated. The performance gap had narrowed dramatically. Test pilot Eric Brown's flight notes recorded, Spitfire maintains energy equivalence in sustained climb when using maximum boost settings. Previous German superiority in vertical performance significantly reduced. The test results validated frontline experience and provided technical foundation for revised tactical doctrine. Fighter command training directives incorporated the new performance parameters into standardized combat tactics. Pilot instruction emphasized sustained power management and extended vertical pursuits previously considered beyond the aircraft's capabilities. The tactical playbook expanded to incorporate maneuvers that had been impossible with lower-grade fuel. Luftwaffe intelligence eventually identified increased engine power as the source of enhanced British performance, but misattributed the cause to mechanical modifications rather than fuel chemistry. A September intelligence assessment theorized, British fighters show increased power output suggesting supercharger or compression ratio modifications. Intercept tactics must assume reduced performance differential in vertical plane. This misdiagnosis led to misallocated German technical resources. Engineering teams pursued complex mechanical enhancements to restore their previous performance advantage, while the actual British improvement had come through simple chemistry. The misdirection consumed valuable development capacity during a critical phase of the air campaign. By focusing on mechanical solutions to a chemical problem, German technical resources pursued unnecessary complexity while overlooking simpler approaches. Air Chief Marshal Dowding reviewed combat effectiveness statistics for August operations. The numbers revealed a significant shift in engagement outcomes, coinciding precisely with the widespread introduction of 100-octane fuel. Interception success rates improved by 17% across all fighter groups. More telling was the change in pursuit effectiveness. Successful follow-up attacks after initial engagement increased by 23%, as British pilots maintained contact through previously impossible vertical maneuvers. Dowding's assessment, circulated among senior RAF leadership, concluded, the performance enhancement has fundamentally altered the tactical balance without requiring aircraft modification or production delays. Our pilots now contest airspace previously ceded to enemy fighters. Interception geometries previously impossible are now standard operating procedure. This invisible improvement may prove decisive during the current phase of operations. The strategic impact extended beyond immediate tactical advantages. German air operations increasingly shifted toward dawn and dusk raids, when reduced visibility complicated interception, regardless of performance parameters. Night bombing operations expanded as daylight vulnerability increased. These operational adjustments reduced bombing accuracy and effectiveness, indirectly preserving British industrial capacity during the critical production expansion phase. Luftwaffe operations analysis from early September documented the shifting tactical balance. British interception effectiveness has increased beyond projections. Escort fighter requirements have increased by approximately 25% to maintain equivalent bomber protection. Current fighter production cannot sustain this increased commitment while maintaining operations on other fronts. The redirection of German fighter resources to bomber escort duties reduced the Luftwaffe's offensive fighter operations over Britain. Fewer fighter sweeps meant reduced pressure on British forward airfields. This operational breathing space allowed RAF maintenance and logistics systems to recover from the intensive operations of early August. The ripple effects of the performance enhancement extended throughout the air campaign's operational structure. By early September, the cumulative impact of the invisible advantage had contributed significantly to the shifting balance in the Battle of Britain. Without a single aircraft design change, without production modifications, without complex retraining programs, Fighter Command had effectively negated a key German tactical advantage. The strategic surprise came not through revolutionary technology, but through the application of existing chemistry to enhance established systems. Production ledgers closed for the third quarter as RAF and Luftwaffe staff officers calculated aircraft replacement requirements and fuel allocation priorities. Industrial capacity and resource access were determining air war outcomes as decisively as individual combat performance or tactical doctrine. German aircraft production during the critical summer months of 1940 maintained approximately 220 Me, 109 fighters per month, despite increasing resource constraints. Skilled labor shortages affected quality control, while material limitations restricted production expansion. British Spitfire production reached 320 aircraft per month during the same period, supplemented by Hurricane deliveries averaging 250 aircraft monthly. The production advantage represented more than mere numbers. It enabled strategic flexibility that German forces increasingly lacked. The numerical edge allowed Fighter Command to maintain defensive coverage, while simultaneously supporting training programs that ensured pilot replacement. Strategic implications emerged at the operational level. By September 1940, the RAF maintained 52 operational fighter squadrons across all commands. The Luftwaffe sustained fighter strength of approximately 725 serviceable Me-109 seconds across all theatres. When combined with the enhanced performance provided by 100-octane fuel, Britain's production advantage created a multiplication effect that German planners had not anticipated. Their intelligence estimates had correctly identified British production capacity, but failed to account for the performance enhancement that effectively increased the combat effectiveness of each aircraft produced. Luftwaffe quartermaster reports documented fuel quality inconsistencies that increasingly affected operations. Strategic petroleum shortages forced German refineries to process lower-grade crude oil, resulting in variable octane ratings that restricted engine performance. Engine maintenance intervals shortened as fuel quality declined under production pressure. By contrast, Fighter Command's standardized 100-octane supply maintained consistent performance across all operational units. Air Staff planning documents tracked this qualitative multiplier across defensive sectors. The Western approaches, previously vulnerable due to limited fighter coverage, now received adequate protection despite unchanged squadron allocations. Aircraft operating at enhanced performance levels covered larger patrol areas with improved intercept probability. Technical enhancement had become strategic advantage. A Spitfire squadron scrambled to intercept an incoming raid as ground crew refueled the second flight of fighters with the precious 100-octane aviation spirit. Across the Channel, Me-109 pilots of JG-53 reviewed tactical briefings, emphasizing higher patrol altitudes and reduced escort proximity. Operation Adlerangriff continued the Luftwaffe's campaign against RAF airfields and sector stations. German commanders expected to exploit their numerical advantage through coordinated attacks across multiple sectors. RAF defenders leveraged their enhanced performance capabilities through refined intercept techniques. Sector controllers vectored squadrons to optimum engagement altitudes, confident in their aircraft's ability to climb effectively to combat position. The performance enhancement particularly benefited defensive operations, where fuel conservation was less critical than in offensive sweeps over enemy territory. Combat developed throughout the day as German formations attacked airfields across southeastern England. Luftwaffe fighters attempted their traditional high-altitude positioning, followed by diving attacks on British formations, climbing to intercept the bombers. RAF squadrons maintained cohesion through the climbing phase and pursued German fighters attempting to disengage after their initial attack runs. Combat results documented the tactical shift. Total losses reached 25 German aircraft against 31 British. Still unfavourable, but representing significant improvement over comparable operations from early August. The qualitative change appeared in engagement persistence. British fighters maintained contact through previously impossible vertical manoeuvres. German pilots found their traditional disengagement tactics less effective, as RAF pursuers sustained emergency power settings throughout extended climbing turns. Luftwaffe after-action reports noted, British formations exhibit unexpected climb persistence. Traditional separation tactics increasingly unreliable. German pilots found RAF fighters more aggressive in vertical engagements and more persistent in pursuit phases. Wing Commander Robert Stanford Tuck's combat report stated, maintained contact with Me 109 seconds attempting to climb away. Aircraft performance sustained throughout vertical pursuit. Achieved firing position during previously impossible maneuver sequence. Combined modifications, 100 octane fuel, improved tactical doctrine, and refined intercept control had eliminated systematic disadvantages that constrained British fighters during July and early August. A single fuel change, supported by tactical adaptation, had rewritten the operational balance across southern England. The escape climb monopoly had ended. German and British fighters now competed on equal terms throughout most of the combat envelope. German reconnaissance flights documented increased RAF fighter presence at previously uncovered altitudes. Their intelligence analysis correctly identified enhanced British performance, but continued to misattribute the cause. A September 6th assessment theorized, enemy may have introduced specialized high-altitude squadrons equipped with modified aircraft. Observed performance improvements likely result from lightweight airframes or enhanced supercharger systems. The actual cause, 100 octane fuel, enabling higher sustained boost settings, remained unidentified throughout the critical phase of the Battle of Britain. This intelligence failure allowed the RAF to maintain strategic surprise, despite widespread implementation of the enhancement. By misdiagnosing the cause, German technical countermeasures focused on mechanical solutions rather than addressing the actual chemical advantage. Air Chief Marshal Dowding reviewed the shifting combat statistics with cautious optimism. The performance enhancement had not created British superiority, but it had established effective parity in a critical dimension of air combat. More importantly, it had done so without production delays, design changes, or complex modification programs. Every operational Spitfire and Hurricane had received the enhancement simultaneously through nothing more complex than a fuel change and corresponding boost control adjustment. The strategic impact extended beyond immediate tactical effects. German bomber losses increased as fighter protection became less effective. Operational planning increasingly shifted toward night bombing, where reduced visibility negated the performance parameters of both air forces. This operational adjustment reduced bombing accuracy and effectiveness, providing crucial breathing space for British industry during the critical production expansion phase. By mid-September, the cumulative impact of the invisible advantage had contributed significantly to the shifting balance in the Battle of Britain. Without a single aircraft design change, without production modifications, without complex retraining programs, Fighter Command had effectively negated a key German tactical advantage. The strategic surprise came not through revolutionary technology, but through the application of existing chemistry to enhance established systems. Lord Beaverbrook convened a meeting of the Aircraft Production Council while reviewing fuel allocation priorities for the coming quarter. The performance enhancement had proven its value during the critical summer months. Securing continued supply became a strategic priority equivalent to aircraft production itself. American refineries expanded 100-octane output as Britain's petroleum relationships shifted from commercial transactions to strategic alliance. The fuel represented more than technical enhancement. It embodied the material support that would eventually ensure Allied victory. American industrial chemistry had provided a crucial force multiplier at Britain's moment of greatest vulnerability. This invisible alliance through petroleum technology foreshadowed the logistical partnership that would later overwhelm Axis production capacity across all war fronts. By late September, German air operations over Britain had fundamentally changed character. Daylight bombing decreased while night operations expanded. Fighter sweeps declined as escort requirements consumed available aircraft. The Luftwaffe had not been defeated through decisive air battles, but its offensive capability had been blunted through the cumulative effect of tactical adaptation, production advantage, and enhanced performance capabilities. Squadron leader Douglas Bader debriefed his pilots after an intercept mission over the Thames estuary. His tactical assessment emphasized the shifting combat dynamics. Their formations now operate at extreme altitude, sacrificing escort effectiveness for security. Our aircraft can maintain pursuit through climbing disengagements that previously would have succeeded. Maintain boost settings throughout vertical maneuvers. Your engines will sustain the power. Fighter Command training directives incorporated the expanded performance envelope into standardized combat tactics. New pilots learned sustained power management alongside traditional energy conservation techniques. Operational training units emphasized aggressive pursuit through vertical planes previously considered beyond effective engagement parameters. The tactical playbook expanded to incorporate the chemical advantage into operational doctrine. German pilots adapted to the changing performance balance through revised tactical approaches. Their formations operated at higher altitudes, maintained greater separation from bomber elements, and initiated disengagement earlier in combat sequences. These adaptations preserved aircraft survival rates but reduced offensive effectiveness. Escort fighters increasingly found themselves choosing between adequate bomber protection and tactical positioning for their own survival. Oberst Werner Mulders, leading JG-51, documented the tactical adjustment in his operational assessment. British pursuit capabilities have improved beyond intelligence estimates. Traditional separation tactics require revision. Combat persistence now demands earlier disengagement, initiation, and greater initial separation to ensure successful extraction. The tactical stalemate reflected the strategic reality. Neither air force could achieve decisive dominance given the established balance of technical capability and production capacity. German numerical inferiority prevented sustained offensive operations, while British defensive focus limited their ability to take the offensive initiative. The air war had reached equilibrium through the interaction of opposing strengths and constraints. This equilibrium ultimately favored the defender. Britain needed only to prevent decisive German air superiority to preserve its national survival. The Luftwaffe required clear dominance to enable the invasion of England. By establishing effective performance parity, the 100-octane fuel enhancement had contributed significantly to denying Germany the prerequisite air superiority for Operation Celium. On September 17th, Hitler postponed the invasion indefinitely. While many factors influenced this decision, the Luftwaffe's failure to establish decisive air superiority ranked among the most significant. The performance enhancement that had narrowed the vertical combat gap between opposing fighters had played a crucial role in preserving Fighter Command's operational effectiveness during the critical summer months. German intelligence finally identified fuel quality as a significant factor in British performance enhancement, but not until October after the critical phase of the Battle of Britain had concluded. A technical assessment dated October 11th noted, "Evidence suggests British fighters operate with higher octane fuel, enabling increased boost settings without engine damage. This enhancement provides approximately 15% increased power output during combat operations." This belated recognition came too late to influence the strategic outcome. By October, the Luftwaffe had already shifted to night bombing operations, tacitly acknowledging their inability to achieve daylight air superiority over southern England. The window of opportunity for invasion had closed, and with it, Germany's best chance for victory in the West. The 100-octane fuel story embodied a crucial principle of wartime innovation. Effective enhancement often comes through applying existing technology in unexpected ways rather than developing revolutionary new systems. British engineers had not created the high-octane fuel. American petroleum companies had developed it for commercial aviation and racing applications. The innovation came through recognizing its military potential and implementing it across an entire air force at a critical moment. This approach to enhancement, leveraging existing technology for immediate implementation, contrasted sharply with German technical development. The Luftwaffe pursued mechanical perfection through incremental design refinement, creating elegant but complex solutions that required extensive production adjustments. RAF technical officers embraced simpler enhancements that could be implemented across the entire force without disrupting production or maintenance systems. Wing Commander Alan Wright examined combat camera footage while compiling tactical assessments for Fighter Command Headquarters. The film revealed the practical impact of the performance enhancement, British fighters maintaining pursuit through vertical maneuvers that previously would have resulted in successful German disengagement. Aircraft that had been designed to turn tightly in the horizontal plane now demonstrated competitive capability in vertical combat dimensions as well. Wright's assessment noted, "The performance enhancement has expanded our tactical options without requiring aircraft modification. Pilots now contest vertical space previously ceded to enemy fighters. Interception, geometries previously impossible are now standard operating procedure. This invisible improvement has proven decisive during critical engagements. The enhanced performance particularly benefited less experienced pilots who previously had struggled with the complex energy management required to compensate for performance disadvantages. With more competitive climb rates, these pilots could focus on tactical positioning rather than complex compensation techniques." Squadron training officers noted improved combat effectiveness among recently deployed pilots who benefited from the more forgiving performance envelope. Air Vice Marshal Keith Park, commanding 11 Group, leveraged the enhanced capabilities through refined control procedures. Sector controllers now vectored squadrons to optimum engagement altitudes with greater confidence in their ability to reach effective interception positions. Raid plotting became more aggressive, with intercept vectors calculated to engage incoming formations at maximum distance from target areas. Park's operational directive emphasized the tactical adjustment. "Our aircraft now climb effectively to combat altitude. Interception planning should reflect this enhanced capability. Engage at maximum practical distance from target area, maintaining emergency power settings throughout the intercept phase." This approach multiplied the effective coverage of each squadron, allowing more efficient allocation of limited fighter resources across the defensive sector. The performance enhancement delivered another critical advantage during the most intense phase of the Battle of Britain. It multiplied the effectiveness of inexperienced replacement pilots entering frontline service. As combat losses thinned the ranks of pre-war professionals, Fighter Command increasingly relied on rapidly trained pilots with limited operational experience. These newcomers benefited enormously from aircraft that now performed more competitively against German fighters. Squadron leader Robert Stanford Tuck noted in his training assessment, "New pilots show greater tactical confidence knowing their aircraft can match enemy climb performance. The psychological advantage translates to more aggressive combat behavior and improved formation discipline during interception phases. This confidence multiplier proved particularly valuable during a period when pilot experience levels declined under the pressure of sustained combat operations." The technical advantage extended beyond psychological effects to tangible tactical benefits. Less experienced pilots previously needed to employ complex energy management techniques to compensate for performance disadvantages against German fighters. With more competitive climb rates, these pilots could focus on situational awareness and tactical positioning rather than constantly managing power settings to preserve energy states. Group Captain Adolf Saylor-Mahlon incorporated this understanding into training protocols for newly assigned pilots. His briefings emphasized, "Your aircraft will outclimb what you've been told in training. Use this capability aggressively, maintain emergency power throughout interception and initial engagement. The fuel we're using prevents engine damage at settings that previously would have been restricted." This simplified approach proved easier for inexperienced pilots to implement under combat stress. The performance enhancement demonstrated another strategic principle, the multiplication effect of qualitative improvement across existing forces. Rather than concentrating advanced capability in specialized elite units, the fuel change enhanced every operational fighter simultaneously. This universal application created an immediate force-wide improvement without the logistical complications of managing different performance capabilities across multiple squadrons. Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding recognized this strategic advantage in his assessment to the Air Ministry. The performance enhancement has effectively increased our operational fighter strength by approximately 15% without requiring a single additional aircraft. This multiplication effect has proven particularly valuable during the current phase, when production barely matches combat attrition. By October, the cumulative impact of the invisible advantage had contributed significantly to preserving Britain's air defence capability during its period of greatest vulnerability. Without a single aircraft design change, without production modifications, without complex retraining programs, Fighter Command had effectively neutralized a key German tactical advantage. The strategic surprise came not through revolutionary technology, but through the application of existing chemistry to enhance established systems. The 100-octane fuel story illustrates a crucial principle of wartime innovation. Sometimes the most effective enhancements come not through revolutionary design, but through recognizing untapped potential in existing systems. The Spitfire's Merlin engine had always possessed the structural capability to produce higher power output. The limitation came not from mechanical design, but from the detonation characteristics of available fuel. By addressing this chemical constraint, rather than pursuing complex mechanical solutions, the RAF achieved an immediate performance enhancement across its entire fighter force. The approach exemplified British pragmatic innovation, identifying the simplest, most implementable solution rather than the most elegant engineering approach. The performance enhancement alone did not win the Battle of Britain. Victory came through the combined effect of many factors: radar early warning, integrated control systems, pilot courage, production capacity, and strategic focus. Yet, the 100-octane fuel improvement came at the critical moment when Fighter Command faced its greatest challenge. By narrowing the performance gap between opposing fighters, it helped preserve Britain's air defence capability during the decisive summer months of 1940. The story represents more than a technical footnote in aviation history. It demonstrates how seemingly small advantages, applied at critical moments and multiplied across entire forces, can influence strategic outcomes. The performance enhancement did not create British air superiority, but it helped prevent German dominance during the period when Britain stood alone against continental conquest. In the broader narrative of World War II, the fuel enhancement embodies the material relationship that would eventually ensure Allied victory. American industrial chemistry had provided a crucial force multiplier at Britain's moment of greatest vulnerability. This invisible alliance through petroleum technology foreshadowed the logistical partnership that would later overwhelm Axis production capacity across all war fronts. The legacy of the 100-octane fuel advantage extends beyond its immediate tactical impact. It represents a philosophy of enhancement that prioritizes immediate implementation across existing forces, rather than revolutionary development for future deployment. In wartime, when current survival often determines future opportunity, such pragmatic innovation frequently delivers greater strategic value than pursuit of technical perfection. As Britain emerged from its finest hour into the longer war ahead, the lessons of the fuel enhancement informed broader technical development. Rolls-Royce engineers incorporated the higher operating parameters into subsequent Merlin variants. Fuel chemistry became an integral consideration in aircraft performance specification. The understanding that simple chemistry could deliver performance improvements comparable to complex mechanical redesign influenced development priorities throughout the conflict. The 100-octane story remains relevant beyond its historical context. It demonstrates enduring principles applicable to any competitive environment. Sometimes the most effective advantage comes not through revolutionary change, but through recognizing untapped potential in existing systems. Implementing simple improvements across entire organizations often delivers greater impact than developing perfect solutions for limited deployment. When Germany never expected 100-octane fuel to give Spitfires 20% more power in 48 hours, they encountered not just a chemical formula, but a philosophy of pragmatic innovation that would eventually contribute to their defeat. In the darkest summer of 1940, As Britain fought for survival against overwhelming odds, an invisible advantage helped preserve the nation's air defense capability during its period of greatest vulnerability. The legacy of that enhancement extends beyond aviation history to embody enduring principles of effective innovation under existential pressure. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.